Hi, my name is Julie Sparks, and I'm a candidate for the Canton Charter Commission. I've been invited here by the Stark County Political Report to answer a question, and that question is, and I quote, if Canton voters approve the formation of a charter commission, and I am selected by them to staff one of the 15 positions, what is my point of view on the following? Question, do I favor presenting a Canton charter government structure to Canton voters in November 2016 that mirrors Canton's current statutory government, or do I favor the development of a proposal to voters that changes some aspect of the existing statutory structure of Canton government? If you favor a change, describe the change you would promote in the discussions among the 15 elected commission members and the reason why you favor the said changes. I've given this some consideration. One of the things I'm enjoying about this process is that it is deliberative. So just from the moment when I considered putting my hat in the ring to the petition process to now what would be called, I suppose, the campaign process, my mind continues to chew on the subject, and also through research. And so my answer is evolving, and I expect that to be the case. And here's what I mean by that. I remember in the early 90s, I was on a jury, and the prosecution went first, and I was absolutely sure when he was done, without a shadow of a doubt, that this young man was guilty. He needed to go to jail. There was no question about it. Over, done. Okay, fine and dandy. And then comes along the defendant, the defendant's lawyer, and after listening to him, I recognized that my thinking and my decision was changed. Ultimately, the young man was found guilty, but what was important to me at that point in life was the realization that deliberation brings about outcomes that may be more profound, more effective than just one human being's thoughts. So saying that, and having given this some consideration, in terms of changing the structure of our statutory government, I am far less concerned about this at present. My primary concern is that we as a body of citizens allow ourselves the opportunity to have home rule, to adopt a charter form of governance. The reason, very, very simply, and it really has come down to be the kernel for me, not that I can't discuss the other items, but the kernel for me is this. If we as a citizenry have a matter that is specific to us, specific to our municipality, to our concerns, to our interests, then oughtn't we be give ourselves the opportunity to make the decision? So rather than being bound, in this case by the state of Ohio through statutory law, I understand, through my research, I understand that, for example, if there's a matter that is in relation to our community that we think is of importance and we have a feeling about how we want to act in that regard, that if it's in conflict with what the state law says, the revised code, if you will, then we can't enact that. We can't act in what we believe are our best interests. Our recourse is very, very cumbersome. Our recourse would be to try to move the Ohio legislative body in our favor. You know, you get your R's, you get your D's. You know, we tend to be a community of Democrats. You know, we have Republicans running the state right now. So you're at loggerheads, even if it's all folks of the same political party. It's cumbersome. It's unnecessary. So whether it's in government, whether it's in business, whatever it might be, your private life and volunteerism, we should want to afford ourselves the greatest opportunities, the most tools, the best tools. So I see charter government as the best available tool that we can provide ourselves to meet our own needs and to govern ourselves. I'll give you something. I was sitting out here in the library at the law library of the city of Canton or Stark County, and I just randomly pulled a municipal corporations book off the shelf from the Ohio Revised Code. And it says to me here, the council of a non-charter city and providing the personnel to be employed in the police department of such a city cannot create positions other than those enumerated in the Ohio Revised Code. Hogwash. Why? What would be the point of that? If we, and that's just an example, it's random, it was on the page that the book opened to. One of the things that's occurred to me over the years is, you know, we have some hot button issues in our community, and I think a lot of us have spent a good bit of money on these hot button issues. We know, for example, potholes, big deal for us. And frankly, myself and many that I know have had to put money into cars who have taken damage from potholes. We've seen ourselves struggle with it. Okay, so that's an acknowledgement. We all know that it's an issue. The question for me is, should we not allow ourselves the greatest opportunity to resolve it without the involvement of the state or any other body? whatever solution we come up with, is that solution for that short period of time, hiring an outsider and not getting a lot of red tape in the way of bringing an outsider or an outside corporation in, if you will, to help us solve that issue. Where's the harm in that? We would provide ourselves, so I'm looking for, actually my favorite word in regard to the Charter Commission is the concept of nimbleness. I believe flexibility, nimble, call it whatever you want to call it. I'm kind of beating a dead horse here in that I think I've made my point that from my perspective, it's not so much about changing the structure. I'll talk about that real briefly. But for me, as a member of the Charter Commission, I've come to the realization that what I want to do basically is two things. Number one, I want to work amongst this body of human beings to write the charter that has the highest likelihood of being accepted by the citizens of Canton, because in my mind that is what I think is in our best interest. And so I don't know today what that looks like. Going back to my example earlier, I believe it's a deliberative process. I believe that some of these other individuals that I'll have the privilege of serving with are going to have ideas that they can bring to the table, concerns that they might raise that I may not have given consideration to, that will help us form a charter that is as good as that 15 people can form. Now, a couple other things that I think that are relevant in terms of our structure. Again, I guess from my research in 1913 and in 1962, we as a city made an effort to form a charter government also. And if what I have found is correct, then perhaps we brought back a charter that had some substantial, dramatic, if you will, changes to our statutory structure. Those charters were not approved. So I think there's a lesson in that. And I'm taking a long view. I don't think it's a baby in the bathwater thing where we change and fix everything that we can conceive of in one historic moment. Not at all. I think we provide ourselves the tool to make changes over time. One of the concept of government is to provide stability. So rashness and quickness are not associated with government. And that's okay. So this is something that we provide ourselves and then we begin to work on. I was researching some things in South Euclid. I thought it was very interesting to me because the Charter Commission up there was comprised of 5 people, and the bulk of them were public elected officials. And it seemed so interesting to me that when they came back together for their review, that they selected to write their charter and alter it such that there would be no public or elected officials on that. That blew my mind because, first off, I thought it was kind of big, but my point is that one of the other concerns, I guess, I raised that up sort of not awkwardly, but as an aside, one of the other concerns I've heard in our community is, and that I bring to the table, is this going to be politicized? Okay, so again, I believe that a charter government is the way for our community to go for all the reasons that I've stated. So, if we as a community have concerns about the writing, we have concerns perhaps about the members of the commission, then I confidently can say, and I can also confidently say that I have worked with thousands of human beings in the city of Canton. I've had the privilege to serve, and frankly, I've earned the trust of thousands of Cantonians, including people in northeast and southeast Canton and northwest Canton, less so southwest, but folks who might be characterized as marginalized. And we need a charter that represents all citizens. It's a sink or swim kind of thing. The boat rises or the boat falls together. So in my opinion, that's something I can bring to the table. I've earned a measure of trust, I think rightly, and I guarantee you, I think enough people who know me know that I am not quiet, that I am not going to sit there, not disrespectful, but if there's a point that needs to be made or a point that needs to be countered or something that's occurring that seems, shall I say, political, and I'll tell you, I believe that politics is the lowest form of governance. And so if something starts to smack of politics or partisanship or something that is favoring one over another, then there has to be some people in the room who are qualified enough, and frankly I am, based on my professional and volunteer experience, who are qualified enough to counter that and to engage folks in such a way that we sway this charter back toward fairness and toward honesty and what's in the best interest of the people. Because first off, that's what we as citizens deserve. I mean, if you're writing your own history or you're writing your own constitution per se, you would want to write it as well as you possibly could to lay out your own course. And so, having said that, I feel like we need, whether it's me or whether it's other people, I feel like this body has to have some people around the table who are intelligent, who may not be elected officials, who are willing to take a stance for citizens, and who have in mind that this charter needs to be a tool that we create for the long run and not something where we create such dramatic changes or recommend such dramatic changes that the citizens of Canton will have no choice except to dismiss this wonderful opportunity.